What about this? We mentioned the Schefter sound. Now, this came today from the Pat McAfee Show, and there's a couple of things. There's Trey Lance stuff. There's Brock Purdy stuff. But first, let's check in on the Trey Lance stuff. And this is, by some accounts, especially from the big national voices, maybe the nicest thing anyone said about the current state of Trey Lance all year long. Here's Adam Schefter via the Pat McAfee Show.
Trey Lance, look, it's a long summer, and I'm not going to overreact to a couple of throws that are on social media, like where he's a little bit off. I can tell you that they felt like he had as good an offseason as he had, and he's more prepared than he's ever been. So let's see what happens over the course of a summer when they're in like we're not even in full pad practices yet.
Yeah, it was this one right here. This one was the one.
But listen, we live in a very reactionary world, Pat. So people want to come up and make judgments right away. And so Trey Lance is trending the right way. Let's see what happens with him this summer.
Okay. Trey Lance is trending the right way. He is more prepared than ever before. And Brian Griese, the quarterback coach for the 49ers, echoed some of these sentiments recently as well. So there's that.
Sure. That's a great thing. That's wonderful to hear, but it doesn't matter for a hill of beans. So they like what he did in the offseason. He came in more prepared than ever. That's great. That's great news for Trey Lance. That means that the team is happy with what he's done and where he is. That doesn't say anything in terms of where that puts him on the depth chart.
I would argue it's nowhere near as positive as it sounds.
Well,
for a reason that I don't think people are thinking.
It's positive, but it's very nebulous. It's very much like it's cliches and it's random praise about a player.
See, I don't think it's random at all.
No, it's pointed because they're trying to build up his value. But I don't think that it means anything. And I apologize if I'm sounding a little distracted. I'm trying to figure out where I am connecting Pat McAfee's voice. And I'm thinking about...
What, he sounds like someone else?
It's a little bit of Krusty the Clown in there, but just the way that Pat talks.
Wait a minute. Do we need to hear it again?
I think we do. And help me, audience.
Right.
Who does Pat sound like?
Who does Pat sound like? Remember, Pat is not the main voice. He's the one who comes in the middle.
Trey Lance, look, it's a long summer, and I'm not going to overreact to a couple of throws that are on social media, like where he's a little bit off. I can tell you that they felt like he had as good an offseason as he had, and he's more prepared than he's ever been. So let's see what happens over the course of a summer when they're in pad. Like, we're not even in full pad practices yet.
Yeah, it was this one right here. This one was the one.
But listen, we live in a very reactionary world, Pat. So people want to come up and make judgments right away. And so Trey Lance is trending the right way. Let's see what happens with him this summer.
I think it's Santa Claus. That's who I think it is. I think it's Santa Claus. I think it's Santa. Did that help?
Getting a lot of Marge Simpson.
Yeah, I knew we'd get Marge.
Never Go Full Jeff and Alexander Ponce. Little bit of Marge. And Ranger 49 sounds like a chain smoker. This is all from YouTube.
Simon Hubbard said Colin Cowherd. Colin does not sound like that at all.
I just thought there was a little Krusty in there. Sideshow Mel. This bitch just keeps going. But anyway, back to the topic. I do think that it's praiseworthy, but this is exactly out of the playbook that you and I talked about months ago, where they're not going to take any opportunity to disrespect or talk badly about Trey Lance.
Why would they?
It does nobody any good.
Well, look, and I know where the reaction is going to go when we say this. Oh, here we are, just dismissing compliments about Trey Lance. No, I think that there is some truth to all of it. I definitely think that those in the know say that he looks a lot better. I don't really care about these numbers that we get he was 6 of 8, and this guy is 5 of... I don't care about that. But those on the scene, and I also don't care about videos that I see online, because the highlights that get shared by the 49ers are, by definition, only the good ones. But those who are in the know, been watching practice every day for the last 3 years, say that Trey Lance looks a lot better. The idea of him doing all the right things in the offseason, I never spent a minute worrying about in the first place. I've always known, we've all always known that Trey Lance is going to do the right things, say the right things, put in the work, all of that, right? But this is where my mind goes. This is Adam Schefter. This is not Matt Barrows or Matt Mayoko. Adam Schefter has not been to camp. He even admitted it. He is passing along conversations, not video, not his own eyes. He's passing along conversations. So that simply means that people in the organization are telling him these things. Why would they be telling him these things? Either just because he asked and they're true, or, as you just put it, and I think you're right, the 49ers are actively motivated right now for the national media to say as many good things about Trey Lance as possible. Doesn't mean that they're untrue, but the Niners are actively motivated to do that for obvious reasons. Because when you pair his first statement with this next one, I think it takes some of the optimism and throws a wet blanket on it.
Even if he's trending the right way, I still think Brock Purdy's the starter. I still think that they really are impressed with Sam Darnold. And as I said to you the last time, I thought Sam Darnold was in a great spot to be the number 2 quarterback. So where does that leave Trey Lance? It leaves him for an organization that has gone through quarterbacks the way that you and I go through underwear, right? Like, they just need a lot of them. Yeah. And so they want to have him ready. And, okay, so maybe before the trade deadline, if he's coming along, could somebody inquire about him? That's always possible. Quarterbacks are currency. They want to bring him along. They were happy. They thought he made a lot of progress during the offseason. They thought it was the best offseason he's had. They thought he was as far along as he's been. So let's see how it plays out for the rest of the summer before we're writing off Trey Lance the way it seems some of these videos on social media have in recent days.
These videos.
No.
Yeah.
You said it, Adam.
All right.
Oh, homie.
So Trey's doing great, but, not so great that you get to be QB1 or QB2.
Right.
That's basically what he said. I don't know what to make of that.
Well, I know exactly what to make of it. The Niners are happy with the way Trey Lance has progressed. They're happy with his improvement and his work ethic. He's gotten better. We also like what Sam Darnold has done. We've always liked Sam Darnold, so we brought him in because we could, and we've had our eye on him ever since his draft year. And we had Brandon Allen in as a body, and boy, he really impressed us in OTA, so we kept him around as well. But don't let any of those actions take away from this, because I do believe this is real. They are happy with Trey Lance and the work he's put in and all of the throwing he's done and the improvement he's shown. These two things can be equally true. Ralph Barbieri, rest in peace. One of his favorite go-to phrases, 2 things can be equally true. And I believe that these 2 things are equally true. The Niners over here are happy with Trey Lance, but over here, Sam, Brandon, and Brock. So those 2 things don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Mike Sando, The Athletic, was on the Morning Roast today and listening to him on the morning run. And Sando says the 49ers would love it if somebody, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the Niners would love it if somebody would come along and bail them out. They would love it if somebody would come along and bail them out. He insinuated, if not openly suggested, that the only reason the 49ers haven't traded Trey Lance is because nothing's been offered that would make it look good. But it doesn't look good to trade 3 years' worth of first-round capital to then use what's left, which was 1 first-round pick, on Trey Lance at number 3 overall, then never really start him and trade him a couple of years later for a song. It wouldn't look good. But if somebody would make it look kind of okay, the 49ers would jump at that. He said that like 8 hours ago.
Right.
That's not from April. That's 8 hours ago. A reporter for The Athletic who's been covering the NFC West for the better part of a decade said that today.
Well, now this whole idea of trading Trey Lance would be a cut your losses deal anyway, because you're not getting another team's 2 first rounds and a 3rd round pick thrown in. That's not happening. So if the Niners want to cut their losses, if they get offered a 3rd round pick, they're jumping at it. If they get offered a 4th round pick, they're thinking about it. They already were reportedly offered a 5th-round pick, according to Mike Silver. He had that report from the spring, and they said no thank you in the spring. Would they still say no thank you now as we sit 27 days away from cutdown day? That's a question that maybe will get answered as we further advance down the road. But I think that's what Mike Sando was saying in terms of trading him for a song. You're going to lose the court of public opinion if you trade Trey Lance no matter what.
No doubt.
So now it's a cut your losses situation.
Same as you and me even talking about this.
Right.
Same as you and me even talking about this, because here we go. Don Dot at 1200 on YouTube. I see you. Darn, you heard that part of the interview, but not the good part about Trey. That's crazy. No. See, I heard the whole interview. But Trey Lance potentially being better doesn't matter if the 49ers still want to trade him, which is the implication from everybody in the know across the whole NFL. So it has nothing to do with how well he's playing or who he is or when he was drafted or any of that.